Hey, welcome, and I've made this list just for you. If you're in sales, if you're a communicator that needs to communicate your value, I want to tell you something. This list is the 15 biggest mistakes that salespeople make. I'm going to share them with you, and not only that, I'm going to show you how to correct them. My name is Joe Marcoux, and I am the founder of the Sales Objection System Sales Training Dojo. And over the last 30 years, I've watched salespeople make huge mistakes, and these are easily corrected. You've just got to pay attention, so let's dive in. Mistake number one, you're talking way too much. So what do you need to do to be able to talk less and listen more? What am I doing right now with you? What is the process of this engagement right now? You've got to ask questions, and you've got to be in a position where you're taking the time to learn more. Most of you are making this massive mistake. You're trying to be interesting. You got to be interested. Take advice from Dale Carnegie and Napoleon Hill. How to win friends and influence people. You've got to be interested. Stop trying to be interesting. Huge mistake. Don't pitch, learn. When you learn more and you can feel what your guest, your future client is feeling, and you can let them know what it is that you're hearing from them, how they feel, what a huge difference. Stop talking, ask more questions. Do you think that's going to make a difference? You notice what I'm doing right now? Do more of that. Mistake number two, you fail to qualify the guest. How do you qualify a guest? What do you think you need to do to be able to qualify something to make sure that they are the right fit for what you have to offer, to make sure that you're not trying to sell them something that they don't need? What do you think you need to do? You notice what I'm doing with you right now? I'm asking you more questions. And you have to have a level of enthusiasm behind this, not just in terms of what you believe in. You have to enthusiastically bring people in. The problem that most people make is the moment that somebody says, hey, I have this problem. Yeah, I've got the solution. And then, do you really? Do you think that people want to be sold, or do you think that people want to buy? What do you think people enjoy more? Being sold or buying something because they have a desire for it? So what do you need to do? You need to have a strong qualification process. What does that mean? You need to have a discovery process. At least have a template of questions of things that you would ask. What would you ask every time? And then as you get good with the process, then you get good with the art. See, sales isn't an art form. It is first and foremost a process. Once you understand the process, then you actually become artful in it. And people are just gonna think like you're the Pied Piper, and they're gonna want to buy from you. You haven't even pitched because you've qualified them correctly. Number three, lack of preparation. One of the biggest mistakes that I've ever seen is people don't come prepared. And one of the reasons for this is you stack appointments one on top of each other. And so you get so busy. This is like an extra bonus thing. You get so busy that you don't even have time to eat. You don't have time to drink water. You don't have time to pee. And then what happens is you don't have time to prepare. Take a little bit of time in between and go check out what somebody's social media is. Check them out on LinkedIn. Check out their Facebook profile. It's all there. And by the way, this isn't stalking. This is called preparation. Get to know the person. You got to be really careful with this. So knowing what you find online, you could say, hey, by the way, I noticed that you and I are on LinkedIn and we both know this person. Or I saw on your LinkedIn profile that you used to work at this. It's all there in the public eye, so it's okay for you to say that. Now, if you turned around and said, hey, I saw that you took your kids out to the park this weekend, that's kind of creepy. Notice the difference? So what you want to do is be selective in terms of what you know and be selective with the questions you ask. So when you ask the right questions, people will be engaged. Lack of preparation, huge problem. Engage correctly when you're properly prepared, and guess what? You can also ask questions that you already have the answers to. What do you think that's going to do? It's going to show that you are well prepared. And those, by the way, those people that are decision makers, they're always impressed when somebody shows up well prepared. So think well prepared. You'll crush at sales. Decision makers, they're always impressed when somebody shows up well prepared. So think well prepared. You'll crush at sales. This is mistake number four. One huge mistake that people make is they actually skip over discovery and they just hear about a problem and they jump into the pitch. Stop pitching. You've got to earn the right. If you've gotten this far, you know that there is a buying conversation roadmap. If you haven't picked up the buying conversation roadmap, reach out to either me or one of the members of my team. We'll send you the roadmap. Each step of the roadmap, it's literally a recipe. You've got to earn the right. And when you earn the right, people are going to want you to pitch to them. That's it, because people want to buy. So if you have a discovery process, then you figured out what are the goals that they have in mind? What are the solutions that they need to solve the problem? What I like to call call SMART goals, something that is specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and it's time bound so that we can get something in place so that once we've got SMART goals, guess what? Then we could figure out the two most important ingredients that people need to purchase immediately, and those are desire and urgency. If you don't have desire, nobody's gonna wanna buy. See, when the desire is high, people buy. The price doesn't drive anybody to buy. What really drives someone to buy is desire. So if it's a good deal and they feel the desire to buy that, that's a different thing. If the desire is high because they really want it, that's the kind of thing that you want. How do you create desire? You've got to be able to go through the right discovery process. Know your discovery process and practice it. Follow the roadmap. I can guarantee you're going to have an objectionless sale. Know your discovery process and practice it. Follow the roadmap. I can guarantee you're going to have an objectionless sale. The fifth biggest mistake that salespeople make, they're focusing on features instead of value. Well, what they're doing is they're focusing on, I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this. What ends up happening is people start taking an Excel spreadsheet and there's no emotion connected to this. You gotta remember, people buy based on emotion and they justify it with logic. You know what ends up happening? Somebody's going over this and they're going, well, I'm looking at this particular solution and I'm looking at this solution and it has literally nothing to do with emotion. You're going to get lost because the common denominator comes down to price. So now what you got to do is instead of going based on features, talk about values, benefits, and talk about the emotional response. That's the solution to this. How is it going to feel when you get this solved? Tell me, explain to me, describe to me. Those are three words that I want you to use during your discovery process. Once you've got your SMART goals, dig into the desire. Tell me what it feels like and dig into the pain. This is the problem that a lot of people have. They don't dig into pain. They just go right into future pacing. I want you to imagine immediately what it feels like in 6 months from now that you've got this problem solved. If they don't feel the pain, which is the reason why they're on the call with you in the first place, then you're skipping the point. So remember, if you're focusing on features instead of outcomes, not the products, outcomes, what it's going to feel like for them, you're missing the point. Focus on how they feel when in the moment with the pain, as well as in the future when the problem gets solved. That's what gets people to buy because they feel connected to you. With the pain, as well as in the future when the problem gets solved. That's what gets people to buy because they feel connected to you. The sixth biggest mistake I've seen people make is that they have zero clue on how to handle objections effectively. The way to overcome an objection is to train, is to prepare ahead of time. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. You believe so much in what you have to offer that when somebody says it's too expensive, or I can't afford it, or I need to think about it, or you know what, I'm gonna have to go speak with my spouse, or I gotta go talk to the boss, or what kind of deal can you give me, or it's not in my budget, or anything like that, it's an objection. When you hear this kind of shit, you freak out because you're sitting there going, what do you mean? And when your emotions go up, your intelligence goes down, you end up saying something that you live to regret. What's the best way to prepare for this? The key word is prepare. It's called train. See, 38% of the way we communicate is tone. 55% of the way we communicate is our body language. You don't want to get emotional. What you want to do is keep your cool so that when somebody hits you with that objection, you simply say, thanks for letting me know how you feel. And I'm saying, no, it's not expensive. Then I'm going to tilt my head just by 15 degrees. I'm going to go into empathy. I'm going to say, so what exactly are we comparing this to? And we practice these things. And these moves make a huge difference. And the ones that win are the ones that practice. That's what you need to do if you want to be successful, if you want to build a life of your dreams. And that's what I want for you. Don't make the mistake of not putting in the practice. I promise you that if you put in a little bit of practice, the world is yours. And that's what I want for you. Don't make the mistake of not putting in the practice. I promise you that if you put in a little bit of practice, the world is yours. The seventh biggest mistake that salespeople make, selling to the wrong person. Here's something that you have, and here's something that I have that we both have that are the same. We all share the exact same 168 hours a week. I'm not gonna waste my frickin' time speaking to the wrong person. So say, for example, you're dealing with somebody's executive assistant. I'm not gonna sell to the executive assistant. What I wanna do is I wanna sell the appointment to the executive assistant so I could speak to the decision maker. Don't make the mistake of going through a whole whole sales process where someone who isn't a decision maker that gets someone to sign the check or give you the credit card number, like, don't waste your time. If you're speaking to someone who is in the chain of command, then the next piece is, what questions can you ask to get to the appointment? How can you make the appointment happen? Who do you need to speak to? Where are they? Now, that's okay with asking somebody who's an executive assistant, and you still need to do a bit of preparation. You don't want to be wasting your time pitching someone who doesn't have a care in this or doesn't have a horse in the race. You want to be able to get the person who decides. So don't waste your time with the wrong people. And this is blunt because the fact of the matter is everybody's trying to be nicey nice, and you can be nice and still be an authority. So save yourself the time, save them the time, and see what you need to do to be able to get to the person who's making the decision. And there's ways to be able to do that. Just know that you don't want to waste your frickin' time. Mistake number 8 is being too pushy or being too desperate. And it's literally, it looks like, can you please? Hey, just following up, it smells of desperation. So what we need to do is we need to come in like, hey, I'm here to help. Hey, is now a good time for us to connect? Well, guess what? The answer is going to be no. So use a no-oriented question when you call somebody and you say, hey, John, it's Joe here. We're connected on LinkedIn. I just want to confirm, is now a bad time? No. People love to say no. What we want to do is we want to have confidence, conviction, and control. These are the 3 C's of a sales samurai. See, when you have confidence, people believe in what you say. When you have conviction, people believe in you and what you say. And when you have control, you know when to come in a little bit stronger and you know when to pull back. That is where that art form comes in. You come across as the authority because you are. If you don't believe that you're the authority in your space, the person hearing you, whether it's on the phone or on a Zoom call, on a video, live and in person, if they don't pick up that energy from you, it's not going to happen. I want you to be a pro. I want you to be confident. I want you to have conviction. And I want you to have control. And it takes practice. This way you're not stuttering. You're not putting in filler words. And people believe you and they believe in you because of the way that you sound, because of the way that you hold yourself. Mistake number 9, one of the biggest mistakes that salespeople make is they do not follow up. And I can promise you, if you're watching this, it's likely that your follow-up does suck. And it's truth, because you don't have a system in place. It's a process. You should have reminders, especially for those that are the low-hanging fruit. Like, you should have people on an automated follow-up list. At the very least, put them on your email list so that they still remember you and they can see it. If they unsubscribe, they got the message. I have an email that's called a Daily Cup of Joe. And it's a short email. It's generally something that you do not have to scroll, and it's always packed full of value. I've had people on that list for over 3 years, 4 years, and they email me, eventually they buy. That's part of my follow-up process. Follow-up is a process. So now, where are you doing a triage of your guests? Are these people an A, B, or C level client? Because not everybody's an A client. They're not a top tier. That's okay. Place them. Some people that are saying no just means no for now. They could be the ideal client. They're just not ready yet. And that's okay. I would much rather you hear no than hear maybe, and it's a waste of frickin' time. You got to implement a follow-up system. So what's a follow-up system? Do you have a CRM? Do you have a client retention management system? Are you using something like Go High Level, Pipedrive, HubSpot, Salesforce, something to that effect? Reminders on your phone. Something that you have systemized. If you are just winging it, I promise you, you're sinking it. One of the things, the biggest mistakes that people make, number 10, is failing to build rapport. If you can't build rapport with someone, then you're not going to build trust. Now, you may very well be following people online, and over time, you can build know, like, and trust with them. Just like watching this video now, you're starting to get a sense of, okay, I'm getting to know Joe a little bit more. That's great. When you're on a call with someone, whether it's a phone call, a video call, or you're live and in person, you're interacting, you're having a conversation with someone. What are you doing to build rapport? Are you interested in this person? And again, how do you build rapport with someone? It's generally not business related. You're building rapport with another person. So are you able to just have a conversation where it's fun? And often people are so focused on business and numbers and everything else that you forget that you're dealing with people. Do you represent your personal brand as well as the brand that you work for, whether it's the company that you work for or your company brand? Are you the best representation of that? So what do you do to build rapport? You've got to prioritize the whole idea of building a relationship first. Because if it's just about the money, people are gonna smell it on you and they're just gonna go, nope, forget it. And if you're not coming from a place of care, people are gonna know. They're absolutely gonna know. So what I want for you is I want you to build relationships first and then earn the right. Follow the buying conversation roadmap. Number 11, one of the biggest mistakes that salespeople make is they ignore buying signals. So what does this mean? It's you gotta recognize if you follow the steps to the process, you can ask someone how confident they are in what you have to offer or working with you. See, remember, people buy based on emotion and they justify with logic. So at this point, if you've done your work by prioritizing the relationship, building desire and urgency, and now you've gotten to a point where you've asked them, hey, so on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how confident are you that working together or using this solution, you're gonna be able to get what you want out of it? If they tell you it's a 10, there you go. You're ready to say, great, here's the price, and they're gonna go with it because they're confident in you. If you don't know when people are ready to go, just look at their body language. When they're smiling, when they're laughing, when they're saying yes, and they've said yes countless times, and they're fully bought in. You can then temperature check, because remember, people buy based on emotion. So if all the emotional signals are there, you can check by saying on a scale of 1 to 10 and just verify where they're at. That's it. So that's gonna help you big time. Number 12, one of the biggest problems I've seen, a huge mistake that people make, is they discount. Never mind discounting too quickly, they just discount to make a sale. Huge mistake. Wrong, okay? If you've set the bar high in the sense that their desire is set on high, when the desire is high, people buy. It's that time where somebody says, oh my God, I'm gonna do anything I can to be able to borrow the money to be able to buy this because they want it that bad. Desire is what fuels people to want to go and make this happen. So how do you incite desire in someone? You don't go by discounting. Instead of discounting, look at overcoming price objections with the benefits of what you have to offer. And can you come up with a way to stack value so that you can still get your price and they feel good of getting a deal without you losing your shirt? So instead of discounting, stack value. Or at the very least, if you choose to discount, have a policy in place. If you don't have a policy, you and your team are going to get crushed, and then you're going to be absolutely riddled with resentment. If you can over-deliver and delight people, guess what? You're going to get repeat business, you're going to get referral business, you're going to get testimonials, you're going to get reviews. And those should be your North Star. Those are what you should drive for. The 13th biggest mistake that salespeople make is being afraid to ask for the sale. I've watched some of the experts of experts. I've seen experts where they are literally top level, Mr. Olympia type of experts. And what they get is they get to a point where they're ready to ask for the sale and they crumble. And it's embarrassing. And you might feel that way. So I'll ask you a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, where would you place yourself in the level of expertise that you have? You should be a 10. Here's the question. What level of communicator are you? See, if you're only making level 2 or level 3 out of 10 money, even though you're a level 10 expert, it's because you're a level 2 or level 3 communicator. And that's the problem. I've seen people, the reason that they're making literally 10 to 20 times more money, they're multi-millionaires, isn't because they know more, it's because they communicate their value better. It's because they're confident, it's because they have conviction, and it's because they have control. And when you have those 3 C's, people believe you, believe in you, and they love you for it. So where are you on that scale of 1 to 10 in terms of ability to communicate? Because if you're not at a 10, you need to be. That means you have to get comfortable with closing, and that requires practice. And the practice happens under guidance. You can do it in the SOS Dojo where we practice closing, where all of a sudden it becomes unconscious competence so that all of those emotions that get drummed up and that fear is gone. And you need to practice it, and you've got the ability to do it. Number 14 of the biggest mistakes that I've seen salespeople make is they overpromise and underdeliver. I remember Chris was the type of guy that he would make promises and he literally left a wake of destruction behind him. Yeah, he made money, okay? The problem was the company was losing money because he made these promises that he couldn't keep, and then the reputation got hurt, and then the reviews went sour, and then there weren't any referrals, and then he eventually lost his job. You could eventually lose your business if you're over overpromising and underdelivering. So what do? You've got to set realistic expectations. The thing is, I would rather you underpromise and overdeliver. If you say to somebody, hey, you know what, we're going to be able to achieve this goal in 6 months and you did it in 4, they're going to be thrilled. And this is not a question of lying about it. It's a question of setting realistic expectations. An expectation is a resentment in hiding. That feeling of resentment is the last thing that you need from a client. If you want to be able to get more repeat business, because an existing customer is so much easier to sell to a second time than someone brand new. An existing customer will buy from you again, especially if you've over-delivered. So set the expectation and then come in better than that. If you just follow that step alone, set realistic expectations, you're gonna crush. What does it say about you? It says that you're honest. And people will buy and rebuy off people who are honest because they got to know you, they like you, and above all, they trust you. Last thing, one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen salespeople make, they don't invest in themselves. They don't invest in training. They don't take the time to practice. If you're familiar with the Japanese concept of Kaizen, which is continual never-ending improvement, it's a thing that no matter how good you think you are, there's always more to learn. And there are a lot of young people that are making a ton of money right now. I'll tell you what, they don't know what they don't know. What do I mean by that? The game of sales is always evolving, and doesn't matter how long you've been doing it for. What matters is as you constantly grow and you start to know more and learn more, and more importantly, you practice it. Because sales is a perishable skill. If you don't practice this, it's gonna get dull. An 80% closing rate is a realistic number when you put in the practice. Sales is a perishable skill. Don't let it go to waste. Invest in yourself. You will get a 1000x return on investment when you invest in yourself, when you gain that control, conviction, and specifically that confidence. You've got to put in the 3 C's. When you get on calls with people, it's not that you're out to sell them, you're out to help them. Selling is helping. So you're not pushing anything, you're practicing ahead of time so that you can just have a conversation with people. Don't make the biggest mistake that salespeople make and not practicing and just winging it. If you don't practice, you'll never get to the level of quality of life and impact that you want to make. Those, my friends, are the 15 biggest mistakes that salespeople make. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already signed up for the Daily Cup of Joe, find the link, visit us at sosdojo.com, and I'll see you in the dojo.